Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 8 of Warhammer Imperium magazine, the Necron Overlord miniature that comes with it, and then trying him out on the battlefield. Hello, I'm Will, this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we're bringing you issue 8 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. In this issue we got a Necron Overlord miniature, and as always if you want to skip straight ahead to the battle report to see him, you can do so with the chapter bars or the timecode in the description. But we'll have a look at inside this issue first. So we've got a picture of the miniature here. Necron Overlords are usually in charge of entire Necron worlds, or sometimes even entire dynasty. And because Necrons are effectively enslaved to their will, they function basically as tyrants. This one has a Void Scythe, which is a deadly powered melee weapon, and a Resurrection Orb, which is a strange artifact that can repair even severely damaged Necrons. There's also a bit about a Tachyon arrow down here at the bottom, which is a weapon that's sometimes wielded by Overlords, although not this model. Then on the other side we have his battle record, where you can give him a name, using the name generator from the previous issue because they don't give you any options. Also there's an option for some degradations here to how his personality has been affected by his time in stasis, and you can give your name to his weapon and note down some other significant things about him as usual. But there's no more lore for this issue, we're straight on to the build guide for building him. He's not a push-fit model, so you will have to use glue, and you do have to be a little bit careful with him. It suggests dry-fitting him without glue first, to make sure you're getting all the parts in the right place. It's quite easy to end up with things at slightly the wrong angle if you're not careful with this model. There's more instructions there, and you can see him finished there. And then we have the painting instructions for him. Like all the Necrons we've seen so far, you paint most of him with rune or brass first, and then use the lead belcher on silver areas, like his cloak and loincloth, I suppose. But then we're going back to the Necron Warriors and using the Corax white paint that we got for their eyes and also the power cables on their guns, which presumably later will have a coloured paint put over them, giving them a glowing effect later, and this makes it a bit easier to paint. And also the weapon blades for the Scorpec destroyers. And then back to the Overlord again to apply white to him, to his weapon blade, to the Resurrection Orb, rubble on his base and part of his crown, and the Royal Warden as well. And also Retributor armour gold for sort of jewellery, I guess, hanging from his waist. Also some details on the Royal Warden, including his little cape. Then applying white to the plasma sight as well, the sort of energy orb in the middle and part of its base. And then we're adding Abaddon Black, another paint we've received since getting some Necrons. So this is for the Necron Warriors' weapon casings and their joints. And the same on the Scorpec Destroyers and the Royal Warden. And then also some black on the Overlord himself, including the haft of his weapon, and the subframe of the plasma sight as well. So quite a lot of paint added to the Necrons in this issue. But that's it for the content, so now we'll be on to the game.
So now we can get into our game for this issue, and the Primaris Aggressors have managed to find their way into the centre of the Necron complex under Megaria, and they seem to have found the Overlord's chambers and have gone smashing up the place, and this has awoken the Overlord, who is obviously very cross about the fact that the Space Marines are in his lair, and he's going to do his best to get rid of them. So you can see we have the little board set up, we have the Overlord facing off against the three aggressors. The Overlord is at point A, and the aggressors are at point C, D and E. And we have our data sheets, again some new things here for the aggressors. Their Flamestorm Gauntlets give them ×2 strength, so we learned about strength and toughness in the previous issue, so when the aggressors fight in melee they're actually strength 8 rather than strength 4 as you can see. And we have the data sheet for the Overlord, so he's got a 6-inch move, a weapon skill of 2+, 5 wounds, strength 5, toughness 5, 4 attacks, so 3+ save. He has a Void Scythe, which gives him ×2 strength and a save -4. He also has Living Metal. It's also worth noting that the Void Scythe and the Flamestorm Gauntlets in melee subtract 1 from each hit roll. So, say for the Overlord, even though he has a weapon skill of 2+, he actually hits on 3s, because he gets -1 to hit. And it notes down here in the sidebar, you can modify hit rolls, but you can never modify them more than +1 or -1. And if you have a +1 to your hit roll and something gives you a -1 as well, they just cancel out. And we also learn some other new rules here is the fight sequence. So up until now, if it's your turn, you get to fight in the fight phase, but what actually happens is any models that turn that charged get to fight first, and then once all of those have been resolved, it's actually the opponent who gets to pick first. So if it's the Necron turn, the Space Marine player gets to pick which model fights first, and then the Necron player gets to choose. So you alternate activating units that didn't charge. So it might sound a little bit confusing, it will become slightly more obvious once we get into the game. And also a reminder of the wounds table, which we saw in the previous issue, since we're not just having units with strength 4 attacking toughness 4 again. So you might be able to notice from the table that the Necron Overlord is actually strength 10 with his Void Scythe, whereas the Primaris Aggressors are toughness 5, so he actually wounds them on 2s because he's just that powerful. And we have a quick tutorial of the game here, so it shows the Necron Overlord charging into melee. And you can see that since he charged, he gets to fight first, and then the Aggressor Sergeant gets to fight. Then in the Space Marine turn, the Aggressor Sergeant will fall back, so the other aggressors can shoot the Overlord with their flamers. And then in the fight phase in the Space Marine turn, the two aggressors have charged, so they both get to fight before the Necron Overlord does. And then the game will continue. And victory conditions are just whoever wipes out their opponent wins. So it's simple enough, but we'll come back once we set the board up and get straight into it. Here we are with the board set up. We have our three aggressors facing off against the Necron Overlord, and the Necron gets to go first.
So he will move in the movement phase. He has a 6-inch move, which is enough to get me basically right up next to the Aggressor Sergeant, just over an inch away. Obviously he doesn't have any shooting weapons, so we're going to go straight to the charge phase and charge the Aggressor Sergeant. We're at 7 on the dice. Well, I mean, he didn't need to roll really, but we'll engage him. And then we're on to the fight phase, and as we learned, he gets to fight first because he charged, but then the Sergeant will get to hit him back in my turn. So he has 4 attacks which hit on 3s, because, yeah, again, he's 2+ weapon skill, but -1 because his weapon is big and unwieldy. So we've got a miss with that one, 3 hits. And then wounding on 2s, because an aggressor is toughness 5, but his strength of 5 is doubled with his weapon. Because the strength is twice or more the toughness, wounding on 2s. So, oh, wow, okay, we've got a 1-1, so no wounds at all. Well, okay.
So the aggressor gets to fight back then, since he survived. He has 3 attacks, and these hit on 4s now. So they have weapon skill 3+, but they have -1 to hit, so they hit on 4s. We got 2 hits. These wound on 3s, because aggressors are strength 4, doubled to 8, which is more than 5, but not double, so wounding on 3s. Getting 2 wounds.
And then the Overlord has a save of 3+, but with an AP of -3, that means I need to roll 6s. For a 6+, well, I've not 1, so he only takes 1 wound.
And he goes down to 4. So it's on to the Space Marine turn. And now I'm going to do what they did in the example and have the Aggressor Sergeant fall back so that his friends can shoot. Just get him to there. And then the other 2 are going to move up. So the aggressors will move up, and the 2 regular aggressors will shoot the Overlord. Obviously the Sergeant can't do that because he fell back. I'm just going to roll their attacks together. We have 4d6 shots with the Flamestorm Gauntlets that automatically hit. So that's going to be 13 hits. These are strength 4 against toughness 5, so they wound on 5s. And we got 1, 2, 3.
So 3+ saves because no AP. Failed 1.
So it's another wound to the Overlord, down to 3. And the 2 aggressors will try and charge him. And it's about 3 inches each. Basically anything other than a 2 will get them into range. So I'll do the one at the top of the screen. Get to 7, that'll be enough, and I'll roll the other one as well. Try and get both the dice in the box. But 9 is enough. So one of them will go like that, and the other one will actually go around like that, just to leave a bit of a gap so it's easy for the Sergeant to get in later. Now we'll roll these separately because technically they are counted as separate units. So I'll start with this aggressor at the top that charged first. He has 3 attacks hitting on 4s. He gets a single hit, wounds on a 3. He does.
6 to save though. Nope, so that's another wound.
Down to 2 on the Overlord. And then the other aggressor also gets to fight because he also charged. 3 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 2. Wounding on 3s, getting 2.
Well, we need to make at least 1 save. Oh, we did with a 6, down to 1 wound.
Down to 1 wound, but he gets to fight back now.
Yeah, still in the Space Marine turn, now that all the chargers have gone. I'm going to put all 4 attacks on this aggressor here, doesn't really matter. So these hit on 3s because of the -1. So this 2 misses because it's modified down to 1, so it's only 2 hits. And wounding on 2s, so we've got 2 wounds this time.
Yep, and it's AP -4, so the aggressors would need to roll a 7, which he obviously can't on a 6-sided dice, so he just instantly takes 2 wounds and goes down to 1. But that is it for the Space Marine turn. On to Necron turn 2. At the start of the turn, the Necron Overlord's living metal activates and regains him a wound.
He's up to 2 again, but then we have to go straight to the combat phase because there's nothing else I can do.
Yes, and even though it's the Necron turn, nobody charged, which means I get to pick first. And I'm going to pick the wounded aggressor to go because he might get killed before he fights. Now he has 3 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 3 hits, and wounding on 3s, getting 1.
Oh, so he won't die, but it's 6+ save. Nope, down to 1 wound again.
And now it's his turn.
He's probably going to get killed by the other aggressor, so I'm actually going to put all my attacks on the unwounded one. Not ideal, but the wounded one has already attacked. So 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Well, 3 of them hit, and wounding on 2s. And they all wound.
Yes, so he just dies because he only has 3 wounds. And that's the end of the turn. So it's on to the Space Marine turn again. I think the wounded aggressor is going to fall back and see if the Sergeant can finish off the Necron. So he's going to fall back, and the Sergeant is just going to move in. He's going to use his flamethrowers on the Overlord. 2d6 automatic hits for 7. He's wound on 5s. Getting a single wound.
So a single 3+ save. Hey, which I fail with the 1s, so he actually gets melted.
Yeah, and that is enough to kill the Overlord. And obviously that is a Space Marine victory, so we'll do a best of 3 like we usually do and reset the board and come back. So reset the board, and we'll let the Necrons go first again.
I don't see any need to change my tactics, I just need to not roll 3 1s. So we're going to move up like this and then make our charge, which is 11. I don't really need to roll, but we'll just stand there. And then make our 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. They all hit, and they wound on 2s. Only 1 this time, so...
It's 3 wounds, so it's enough to kill the Sergeant straight away.
But then that's the end of the Necron turn.
Yeah, so the 2 remaining aggressors have to try and finish him off. So they're just going to move 5 inches up. 5-inch move gets both aggressors to there. They're going to try and roast the Necron Overlord with their flamers. 46 automatic hits for 16. 16 hits, wounding on 5s. Getting 3.
So I have to make 3 saves. At 3+, failed 1, down to 4 wounds.
And then we're going to have to finish the job in melee. So aggressor at the top of the screen will charge. One 11 is easy enough, and the other one a 9. Yeah, they're both in. Doesn't really matter where they go, so they're just going to go both go in like that. And they both get to fight first, so I'm actually just going to roll them all together. So 6 attacks between them, hitting on 4s, getting 3, and wounding on 3s, getting 3.
So 3 saves, needing 6s. Oh, no, nothing. So
it's a 1 wound. He gets to fight back.
And he's going to hit the one at the bottom of the screen, I think, this time. So 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. They all hit. Wounding on 2s. That's a 1, but that's 3 wounds.
It's 3 wounds straight away. That's a dead aggressor. And then it's on to the Necron turn.
Yep, where I regain a wound because of living metal, going up to 2. But then the Space Marine gets to fight first because nobody charged.
You're not falling back. 3 attacks hitting on 4s. Getting a single hit. Wounds on 3. It does.
6 to save. No, down to 1 wound again. But then I get to hit back. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. We've got 3 hits. Wounding on 2s. And they're 1s.
Yeah, and that's another dead aggressor straight away. And that's definitely a Necron victory. So we'll have to do the best of 3 or come back once we reset the board. So we've reset the board. Let the Necrons go first again.
Well, we'll move up to just over an inch away, and then I won't even bother rolling the charge. All I want to do is go there. The minimum roll will be enough. And then 4 attacks hitting the Sergeant on 3s. We've got 3 hits. Can we do 3 wounds? We can't, because there's a 1 there.
And it's down to 1 wound. So Sarge gets to fight back. 3 attacks hitting on 4s. Getting 2. Wounding on 3s. Oh, he failed to wound this time. So in the Space Marine turn, Sarge is going to fall back like usual.
Gives you the use of your Flamestorm's gauntlets.
Yeah, and then the other 2 get to move up. 46 automatic hits. We got 11 this time. 11 hits, wounding on 5s. Getting 3. They're remarkably consistent.
3 3+ saves. Failed 1 as usual, so down to 4 wounds.
And then the 2 aggressors will charge. Need to roll anything but a 2, so the one at the top. Hit with the 6, he's in, and the other one, yeah, with the 7, he's in. So we'll go a little to the side, so there's a space for the Sergeant. And then I'll roll them all together. 6 attacks between them, hitting on 4s, getting 3 hits, wounding on 3s, getting 2.
2 6+ saves. Nope, fail both, down to 2 wounds.
And the Overlord gets to strike back.
Go for the one at the top of the screen this time, I suppose. Hitting on 3s, getting 4 hits, wounding on 2s. All 2 1s though, so down.
He's down to 1 wound. Yeah, then it's back round to the Necron turn.
So we regain a wound thanks to living metal, and then there's one of the aggressors gets to hit.
Yeah, so I'll pick the wounded aggressor, because he's far more likely to get killed. He has 3 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 2, and wounding on 3s, getting 2.
Needing 6s to save, getting 1, so...
Back down to 2 wounds.
And then we'll strike the other aggressor who hasn't attacked yet. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits, and wounding on 2s, getting 3, so he's dead.
He's dead. And that was the Necron turn, so it's back to the Space Marines, where Wounded Man's going to fall back, and then Sarge is going to move up to try and finish off the Necron. And he's going to fire his Flamestorm gauntlets, 2d6 automatic hits for 2, wounding on 5s. He failed to wound. He's going to charge. 7 is easy enough. And Sarge has 3 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 1 hit, wounding on a 3, he wounds.
Need a 6 to save still. Nope, so down to 1 wound. Then the Overlord gets to hit back, 4 attacks hitting on 3s. They all hit. As long as they don't roll 4 1s, he's dead. Right, there we go. Well, that's a very good roll.
Sarge goes down, and it's the Necron turn.
So we regain a wound because of living metal. And then, well, he's got a 6-inch move, so we'll just move to be just over an inch away. And then charge. Yeah, he's in. And then 4 attacks hitting on 3s, because he charged. Oh, only 1 hit.
Oh.
Will it wound on a 2? It will. Oh. That's enough to kill him, just.
And the final aggressor goes down. And that's definitely another Necron victory, and they'll win the best of 3. And, we'll do another game where we let the Space Marines go first, just to see if it makes it any harder for the Overlord. So we've reset, and the Necrons are the victors for this issue, but the Space Marines are going to go for the consolation prize. We're going to let them go first. Everyone's going to move up 5 inches, and we're all moving up normally, because we might as well try and charge. And then they're all in range for their Flamestorm gauntlets, so we're going to have 66 automatic hits, 19 hits, wounding on 5s, getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So 5 3+ saves. 2 fails, down to 3 wounds.
And then we're going to have to do some charging. So Sarge is going to charge first. He gets a 6, that's definitely enough, but he's going to charge into the board edge there. This guy will charge next, the guy at the top of the board. What does he roll? A 12, that's easy enough. There is just enough space for the third aggressor to get in, but he's going to need a very impressive roll, I think, to actually get there. 2 is not enough. So the 2 aggressors in combat have 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, getting a single hit, wounding on a 3. They wound at least.
Need a 6 to save still though. Nope, failed.
Down to 2.
And then we'll hit back. We'll go for Sarge, I suppose. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Only 2 hits. And wounding on 2s. 2 wounds to Sarge.
Yeah, he's down to 1 wound. And then it's the Necron turn.
Yes, he does regain a wound at the start of the turn, but then I can't really do anything else before Space Marine hits me.
Yeah, so I will pick Sarge to go first, because he's more likely to get killed. He has 3 attacks hitting on 4s. He gets a single hit. Wounds on a 3. He does.
6+ save. Nope.
Back down to 2 wounds.
And then I'll attack the other aggressor who hasn't attacked yet, hitting on 3s. And they all did. Wounding on 2s. And we've got 1-1, but that's 3 wounds.
Yeah, so down he goes. It's the Space Marine turn again, so Sarge is going to fall back just a smidge. And then the other aggressor, unwounded one, is going to move forward 5 inches and shoot the Overlord with his Flamestorm gauntlets for 2d6 shots. 7 hits. Wounding on 5s. Hitting 2.
3+ saves. All failed 1. Down to 1 wound.
Down to 1. The aggressor's going to charge. Can he do better than rolling a 2? 4. Yeah. He got a 7. So he gets into contact and he charged, so he gets to go first. 3 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 3 hits. He's obviously better than the other 2 apparently. Wounding on 3s, getting 2.
So double 6 for the Overlord to live? No, neither.
And the Overlord goes down. So the consolation game, I suppose, a Space Marine victory. So I think we'll leave it there and we'll recap all these games for you now. So those were the games for issue 8 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How did you think those went?
They were pretty close, actually. I feel like the Overlord does probably just about have the advantage, because in the first game, I probably would have won if I hadn't rolled a triple 1 to wound with my first round of attacks. Although in the subsequent games I did roll quite well for my number of attacks. I quite frequently got 3 or 4 hits.
Yeah, I suppose there's other things. Like I think I probably rolled below average with the Flamestorm gauntlets for wounding. I think in one game, I think if you made a save and if you hadn't have done that, you would have lost as well. So I think it's fairly evenly matched between the two. Certainly more than the game with the Captain and the Destroyers.
And this is despite the fact that most of the time the Space Marines get to fight first, because apart from the first round where the Overlord gets to charge, either the Space Marines have charged and so the aggressors get to fight first, or it's the Necron turn and everybody's already in combat, so the Space Marines at least get to pick somebody to fight first. So I think it helps that you regains a wound every turn. There were a couple of occasions where I regained a wound and then you took it off again, but it meant he wasn't dead.
Yeah, I mean, he probably effectively has 5 on paper, but possibly even as high as like 8 or 9 wounds if you get particularly unlucky. And it is possibly worth noting that he should have a 4+ invulnerable save, and we have learned about those before. We know the Captain has a 4+, so I'm not sure. Well, I guess if he had the 4+ invulnerable save, it would be even easier for him. But
yeah, if I'd been making all those saves that should have been on 6s on 4s, might have even been able to win the one where the Space Marines went first with a 4+ invulnerable save. And because he has -1 to hit, hitting on 3s that can be disappointing with 4 attacks. You can get 2 hits, or even 1 hit if you're really unlucky. The _2 strength does partly make up for that though, because it does mean he's wounding anything toughness 5 or lower on 2s.
The wounding on 2s and the really high APs, you just go straight through Marines. Yeah, and the aggressors, I think this is much more realistically how they would fare against the Necrons. In the previous game where we had them, they just obliterated everything. Whereas you can see that their flamers are going to be wounding on 5s a lot of the time against the Necrons. And they hitting on 4s in melee isn't terribly reliable either. And I guess you might also realise that being toughness 5 is actually a really big deal in the bigger game, because a lot of things tend to be strength 4, toughness 4, that's sort of the baseline. So having toughness 5 means that even things that are strength 8 only wound you on 3s. And that is a big deal. It's quite a significant boost, even if it doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, toughness 5 is definitely like a premium level of toughness.
Considering that very few things are strength 10 compared to how many things are strength 8 or above.
Obviously, the Overlord also has more rules than this. Rather like the Captain and the Lieutenant, he has effects that can boost troops around him. That's probably his primary use. He's not actually primarily a melee combatant, even though his weapon is quite powerful. The Resurrectional that we learned about in the lore section does have quite a good effect that he will get when we learn his full rules.
Yeah, I think he does mention that he resurrects things, so...
And he's also in the category of Necron Nobles who have important effects for the Necron army, which we'll learn about eventually. So his value is not merely in hitting people with a big stick. He does do more that, and we'll learn about that in the future.
I do quite like the model as well. It's certainly got that imposing leader type pose.
It's definitely a kind of villain pose, I suppose, for this guy. He's not like a heroic leading his troops into battle or heroically fighting something. He's definitely planted his scythe and holding up his orb to say, I'm in charge here.
To resurrect his more minions to fight.
Yeah. He's one of at least 2 Necron Overlord miniatures you can get. I'm actually quite surprised we got this one, because this is the retail one that you can buy in shops by himself. And I think he's £17.50, so you get him for about half price with this magazine. Whereas there is one you can get who comes with the Elite and Command Edition starter sets.
Who has the Tachyon arrow, which we mentioned in the lore section as well.
Yeah, given that we got the Royal Warden and the other Lieutenant from the starter sets. So he's definitely a good addition to the Necron collection, I think. And yeah, as I said in the introduction, putting him together can be a little bit fiddly. It's only kind of once you've put his whole body and everything together and start attaching his cloak that you can see whether or not it actually will fit the way it's intended to, which I think is supposed to be in contact with the floor for most of the length of it, because it's kind of flat on the bottom as though it's supposed to be in contact with the floor, even though the picture doesn't really show that. As it suggests in the instructions, just try the pieces without glue just to make sure they fit where you're expecting them to before gluing them in place.
Well, otherwise, I don't think there's too much more to say about these games or this issue. And if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe and leave any comments. If you play this games, it is interesting to see how you've been getting on. Otherwise, we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.